Kamala Harris. Let's have a good debate.
Nice to see you. Have fun.
Thank you.
Do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid.
And they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression.
She doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run.
With COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID? Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy, but she's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21, that's bigger than New York State.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here.
I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach.
Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments.
Vice President Harris,
excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF. Will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer the question? Would you
because
veto?
Under Roe v. Wade,
answer the question. Would you veto?
could...
And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom.
She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there and then showing them in a different light. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
There have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from television.
But the people on
taking it from the city
saying
manager.
their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
You talk about extreme. Including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney.
See, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan. And you take a guy like Esper. He was no good. I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book. Because with me, they can write books. With nobody else, can they?
Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich. Coming from someone who has been prosecuted.
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me.
Why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss at least every point that you've made. Not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times is a value that I bring to my work.
She was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute, I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out in Minnesota. By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that
for
we
the
have to get
environment,
to.
as she
We're out of time.
understands. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, "Oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet." That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. 2 weeks ago, her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened.
We don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
I'd like to see her go down, They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, right. You'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. I said that.
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I said that sarcastically. You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically.
All of these pieces of video, I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that, as he did in the past. I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump.
You talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is up.
I think we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more.
But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself.
She hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un, and it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favors.
Either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's... Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
here... They threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time...
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. Respected world leaders. And this former president...
Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. These people did the worst withdrawal and, in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are. I don't care what she is. I don't care. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me. I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy. He was land, he owned buildings. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor.
She is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden.
Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And let's compare the plans. I have a plan. I have a plan. I have a plan. Let's turn the page.
She has a plan. She has a plan.
President Trump,
she has
we do
a
have
plan.
to move. Okay.
That's
you,
what her
President.
plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsey,
to
go ahead.
respond.
President
because,
Trump,
no, the
President
former
Trump.
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're
I just
going
need
to move on, Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this
multiple
is
times.
now your
Yes.
third time running for president. We're
need
going
to
to move on.
respond.
So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan?
If we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it, and we're going to replace it. But what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan then I would absolutely do it.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan.
You have no plan. Remember,
This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from
Live on ABC with our post-debate comments. I'm Martha Raddatz. It was a lively debate from the economy to abortion to Afghanistan.